Hello and welcome to Sightline. Today in our studio we have Dr. Dawa, a specialist in economics. Dawa, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's our pleasure as well. So, Dawa, you earned your doctorate in computational economics from the Chinese Academy of Sciences in 2019. And since then you've worked in government as a consultant for the Ministry of Finance. And now you've been transferred to the newly established Ministry of Economy and Development. So could you please tell us what kind of ministry the Ministry of Economy and Development is and why it was established?
Okay, back in 2019, Parliament of Mongolia made a few amendments to the constitution. One of them is 25th clause stating that nation's development policy and planning shall be sustainable. And later that year, Parliament passed the law on national development policy and its management. Before the establishment of Ministry of Economy and Development, several different departments across Ministry of Finance and National Development Agency were responsible for developing Mongolian national development policy, which means this policy is scattered around. So in 2021, Government of Mongolia proposed to establish Ministry of Economy and Development in order to bring all these development policy documents under one roof. So the main objective of Ministry of Economy and Development is to promote and sustain national development policy and planning. So Ministry of Economy and Development has organized Mongolian Economic Forum 2022 that postponed for 2 years after the halt of COVID.
And it was in April 7th and 8th.
Yes. And personally, I believe that the most skillful, capable, brilliant professionals should work in the public sector. This is one pathway to accelerate countries' development. Many developed nations actually did that. The best example is Singapore, Japan, and South Korea.
So that's why you chose to work in government.
Yes, I did.
So there are divisions and departments in the new ministry, the Ministry of Economy and Development, such as departments for development policy and planning, macroeconomic policy and planning, regional and industrial innovation policy and planning, and many more. And you work at the macroeconomic policy and planning division. Could you please elaborate on the process of structuring the ministry? What sectors will the ministry mainly focus on?
So, well, more than 50 countries in the world have Ministry of Economy and Development. For instance, our two neighboring countries, China and Russia, they both have it. Even Kazakhstan has it too. So as I mentioned before, MED will mainly focus on maintaining and developing national development policy and planning, and also monitor the policy implementation and assess and evaluate the result. So the different divisions and different departments have their own distinguished role and responsibility to integrate a national level of policy planning documents. The macroeconomic policy and planning division is responsible for all those main macroeconomic indicators of the country. For example, it is responsible for making estimations and forecasts. For instance, the main macroeconomic indicator is the national output. So we will calculate how the economy will grow or shrink in coming years, within estimating internal and external factors, how our foreign trade activities would go on, and the balance of payment, which is the financial sheet of the nation, and the labor force participation and the inflation rate and so on. So when we do make the calculation and estimates, we use economic models that's been using in international level, and all these numbers make a macroeconomic framework. And MED and also other ministries are responsible for assessing the national development policy planning.
So as you said, there are many countries that have MED, the Ministry of Economy and Development. And before establishing the Ministry of Economy and Development, these kind of works were implemented by the Ministry of Finance and also the National Development Agency. Is that right?
Yeah.
So now you are working on the national development policies, and one of them is the new revival policy, the 10-year medium-term development policy. And it has been announced to be implemented by the government recently. And this policy is such a comprehensive program, which is expected to lift the country out of its economic recession after COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
So could you please talk more about how the new ministry will work with other ministries to successfully implement this new revival policy?
Yeah, COVID did hit all countries hard, not only Mongolia. And
Exactly.
Mongolian government acted fast and decided boldly to tackle COVID by vaccinating almost 70 to 80% of our population, and which gives us greater opening and a room to breathe and more focus on our economy, which has been dropped by 5 to 6%, historical lowest since early 90s. So now we are facing with the challenges, how to manage our economy swiftly and smoothly in the most efficient and effective manner. Therefore, the government already approved this new revival policy, and the core competence of the program is that we see things differently now, because the term new is it means that we cannot go back to the normal. Precisely the normal that we used to know was the problem. So for the first time we defined our problems realistically and identified 6 main binding constraints, which was regressive bottleneck for our economy. So right now we are talking about the elephant in the room. So this program is targeted for medium-term targeted program for up to 10 years. So within successful implementation of this program, we aims to strengthen our economic competence and to reduce the negative impact of COVID pandemic on the economy, and also to reduce the poverty rate and elevate the middle class in the society, and precisely address the development barriers.
So this new revival policy, it has got 6 main agendas, which are designed to tackle the 6 problems, as you said.
Yeah.
So they are border checkpoint recovery, energy recovery, industrial recovery, urban and rural recovery, green growth recovery, and state productivity recovery. I understand that you are working on the first one, the border checkpoint recovery. It has got the plans to triple the processing capacity of border checkpoints and to double exports. So could you tell us more about the expected outcomes of this border checkpoint recovery?
So Mongolian economy is heavily dependent on foreign trade, substantially with China. But China is continuously implementing the zero COVID tolerance policy, which has a great impact on our country, trade, logistics, and trade commercial activities.
And our economy. Overall.
Yeah, on economy. Also, the China elevated its standards at the borders but our border couldn't meet those standards. Therefore, there has been really limited amount of transportation going on between China and Mongolia last year.
Could you please name those requirements that are taken by China and that we cannot meet? What are they?
It's more about the COVID inspection. So they are, for example, they are requiring border inspection zones to be built at the border area, and also the inspections at the trucks, and such kind of requirements are going on.
And we are not, and we cannot meet those requirements.
Yeah. Also, Ukrainian issue are putting on a really tight spot because our import is quite dependent from Russia. Over 70% of Russian import composes of petroleum. So logistically, Mongolia right now in really precarious situation, kind of nightmare situation for the landlocked country. Also, there are 27 operational borders in Mongolia, 4 airports and 23 land ports, and 10 of them are by north side and 13 are by south side. And also, according to the World Bank Logistic Performance Index of 2018, Mongolia stands on 138th position out of 160 countries. And also by ADB, Asian Development Bank Logistic Research, it is stated that the border crossing time in Mongolia is 3 times longer than that of border crossing in China. So all these numbers shows that our current operational border system is out of date and too much time consuming, costly, and not meeting international standards.
And to improve that, what are the first steps that you are going to implement?
So a total of 44 projects needed to be done in the phase of the recovery. So currently 5 of them are doing those renovations work. So according to the plan, it is stated that to increase the border capacity, which means going to build like soft and hard infrastructure. Also planning to build container shipment and many other more installation at the border. So the soft infrastructure means that border inspection system will be improved, and the hard infrastructure means railway, paved roads and highways and so on. In addition to that, more installations are planned to be done. It is including AGV, which is automated guided vehicles.
It means there are no drivers, no.
Yeah, it's like automatic container shipment, which is using in many other countries right now, and the trolley container, and so on.
So adding on the recovery of border ports, so operational border ports, there are other objectives like creating conditions for Mongolia becoming a transit country. So could you tell us what actions and resources are required to reach this objective?
So with the effective realization of the recovery on operational border port, we see that it will increase the export by 4-fold, and the operational border ports will increase in 3-fold. And also the government is going to build a paved road of 937 kilometers, which is connecting our north and southern border. So it's a highway. If we can build it, we can be a transit country, and it means we can integrate into the interregional trade. And also it will give us a great opportunity to be a part of One Belt and One Road initiative and to become a transit country and earn more revenues to our country.
So here, this recovery of operational border ports, this is one of the 6 agendas of the new revival policy. And the new revival policy is expected to have an expense to the budget of 10 trillion Mongolian Turks. How is Mongolia going to make up this budget for the new policy?
So government of Mongolia has announced that it solely cannot do all those objectives that are stated in this new rural policy. That's why it is encouraging the participation of private enterprises. Also,
Private Mongolian enterprises, you mean?
Mongolian and also foreign. That's why currently it's working on drafting the law of public-private partnership. And if we can successfully conclude this law, we see that it will increase the foreign direct investment flow to the country and also attract more foreign capitals to the country. Yeah.
So I would like to add on this point, this topic of investment. So between 2009 and 2013, Mongolia's GDP rapidly rose by $8 billion US, and which is primarily a result of foreign investments in the country's national resources. But however, since that, Mongolia's economy growth has slowed, which could demonstrate that our country has failed to maintain long-term economic growth despite the benefits of investment. So now we're talking about attracting more investment in order to lift our country's economy. But how can we be sure? How can we ensure that these medium-term and long-term policies could actually bring about economic reforms? And what would you say is a specialist in economics?
So the time we are facing right now is quite challenging. It's even the policymakers around the world facing tremendous pressure. Therefore, we need to focus on our economic strength. So first of all, the mining sector will be the main component of our economy in coming few years. We have great deposit and mineral resources. And the second of all, Mongolia also should focus on our other value-added products, including cashmere, wool, and also we have great resource for renewable energy, which we have over 280 sunny days. And the tourism sector is potential. So third of all, Mongolian governance is stable and democratic, and also we support the third neighbor policies and so on. So all these competence are giving us great opportunity to attract foreign direct investment and foreign capital flow to the country. And also if we can full use our potential, our economy will grow exponentially. To be honest with you, we have developed over 500 development policy and strategies for the last 30 years, and some of them achieved them, some of them not. So we hope we are in a really great state of mind and the confidence that this new revival policy will be successfully implemented. Thank you.
You've watched Sightline. Our guest today was Davach, domestic consultant at Ministry of Economy and Development. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.